mission. At the heart of it is one recognizable image. Originators, titans of business, brand architects, respected since 9/7. Sky's the limit and legend behind the logo.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 12 of MMA Talk Canada. Here with my good buddy again, Saad Sulman, and we are going to be dissecting UFC on Fox 7. Ben Henderson versus Gilbert Melendez. Pretty stacked card from top to bottom. Saad, what are your thoughts on the card?
Yeah, it's an epic card. I'm so looking forward to the main event. It's the actual first title unification fight in a very, very long time. See, Gil Melendez finally get his chance after years of, being stuck in Strikeforce. Although he's been a great fighter, he hasn't faced the quality of opponents that he should have, and that might have actually led to his underdevelopment. But I'm still so excited. The Cormier-Mir fight, I don't see anyone else not being excited for that.
Yep.
And then you also got Jordan Meehan versus Matt Brown, and finally you have the fight between Nate Diaz and Josh Thompson. So each fight has a lot of, promise for the division, but at the same time, they're so exciting.
Exactly, yeah. We also got a stacked undercard. We got Chad Mendes and Darren Elkins and Joseph Benavidez versus Darren Onema. So pretty stacked card on the bottom. So we'll get started with the first fight on the main card. Matt Brown versus Jordan Meehan. Jordan Meehan coming off his win over Dan Miller. Great fight. He stopped him in the first round. And I see Jordan Meehan getting the same win here. Maybe not in the first round, but I do see Jordan Meehan getting the win here. I think he'll be able to kind of pick apart Matt Brown on the feet maybe, and maybe get a submission win. Matt Brown having a career resurgence over the past year or so, winning I think maybe 4 or 5 fights in a row and making a name for himself. But I think Jordan Meehan is going to take this one. So how do you see this fight going, Saad?
Well, it's an interesting fight. Jordan, young guns Meehan, looked really impressive in his UFC debut, especially stopping a guy so gritty and tough as Dan Miller. But that being said, he's still really young. I'm older than him.
Yeah.
Which is saying a lot. You know what I mean? I'm feeling a little old compared to some of these fighters nowadays. But, he's an exciting fighter, and I've been following him for a very long time. In the last few years, since, say, 2010, he's only lost to one guy in that time with me. And he's shown, some great stand-up. That's predominantly what he's known for. But he's also got great tools. He is a true MMA artist, kind of in line with, Roy McDonald. He's not at that level yet, but he's a very similar skill set. He can do it all. But that being said, I think he's going to have a lot of trouble with Matt Brown. Matt Brown, as you mentioned, has had a career resurgence. He's won 4 fights. He was Mr. 2012. I had him being 2012's best fighter of the year, mainly because to win 4 fights in a row in any given year is so difficult.
Yep.
And how he won them, stopping Luis Ramos, finishing Mike Swick, beating even Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. The guy doesn't lose. The guy was on an 80-fight win streak with kickboxing
Yep.
and all that stuff put together, and he stopped it. And I guess in this case, he's going to stop the hype train that is Jordan Meehan. Jordan Meehan, he's 23 years old. He's going to have a long future ahead of him, but Matt Brown, if he wants to make a stride, this is the time to do it. And I even had him arguably beating Dan Hardy, and I'm thinking that Dan Hardy is a better fighter than Jordan Meehan at this point in Jordan Meehan's career. That's not to say he's not going to go somewhere. He's 23. He's still got a long way to go and a long way to develop. Even though he is, technically, you could call him a veteran of the sport, because Jordan Meehan has so many fights already under his belt, even facing Roy McDonald a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think that he will stop his hype at this moment, but look to see Jordan Meehan come back strong.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to change my decision here. I think Jordan Meehan's going to get the decision win, not the stoppage win. So, yeah, I got the Canadian Jordan Meehan getting the decision win here. So the next fight we got here is Nate Diaz versus Josh Thompson. And now this is going to be a great fight. Another Strikeforce guy coming in. And this is the first time we're going to see Josh Thompson back in the UFC in a long time. I think Nate Diaz get the win here, though. Being a little more experienced and a little more well-rounded than Josh Thompson. I think he's going to be able to get him in the boxing a little bit and maybe pick him apart in the feet a little bit. Josh Thompson maybe trying to go for some takedowns, but I still see Nate Diaz winning the fight. I don't see him stopping Josh Thompson, but I see him getting a decision win. How about you, Saad?
Yeah, I see it very similarly, but I'm going to pick Nate Diaz here. Like, although I agree with the fact that Josh Thompson is such a grinding wrestler, he's tough as nails, and arguably he gave Gilbert Melendez a real test in the last fight.
Exactly.
You could say that might have been the fact that Gilbert Melendez wasn't really interested in the fight with Thompson, maybe because that was their trilogy battle, but maybe he was just feeling, I guess, complacent, not really into the fight, and that made the fight closer than what it should have. But Josh Thompson's a good fighter. He knows how to grind it out. He's been in the game for a while now. But that being said, Nate Diaz has as well. Nate Diaz fought a who's who, just recently losing to Ben Henderson. He got pretty much destroyed, especially with that punch to the eye that kind of swelled it up. And that's pretty much, I think, what stopped his momentum in that fight, how Ben Henderson secured the easy win. But Nate Diaz, just like his brother, is a really tough boxer, got great jiu-jitsu. He's shown improvements in his wrestling, but if there was one weakness, that would be it. But there is a chance that he could submit Thompson off his back because he does have those long limbs. But unlike Nick Diaz, I think he prefers to stand up more, the boxing. You know, Nate Diaz is a gritty fighter, but he's not as powerful as some of the other lightweights and welterweights out there in the world. He's just not as strong, but he uses cardio to wear down opponents, and I think that's going to be his strong suit. Josh Thompson has gone 5 rounds before, especially against Gil Melendez, as I just mentioned. But I think Nate Diaz is just a tougher fighter. I think he's going to weather the takedowns, and he's going to go to the body, go to the head, and then he's going to find a way to pull out a decision. But I wouldn't be surprised if it can go the other way, mainly because Josh Thompson wrestling would be that tough.
Yeah, exactly. Josh Thompson, great fighter. And like I said, this is going to be a very, very close fight, but we see Nate Diaz getting the edge in a decision win. So next fight here, we got Frank Mir versus Daniel Cormier. And the UFC debut of the very hyped Daniel Cormier, having big wins over Josh Barnett and Antonio Bigfoot Silva. This couldn't be a better UFC debut for him than Frank Mir. Journey to the Octagon show with Fox, that Frank Mir actually changed camps to Jackson Winklejohn and has been working with Greg Jackson, been training with guys like John Jones and Travis Brown. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to change his game. And he said he's been training a lot harder than he has in the past. So I think Frank Mir will upset Daniel Cormier, actually. And I know a lot of people are probably wondering why. And I just think he hasn't trained as hard as he could have in his last fights. And training with new people, like new coaches and everything like that, I think he'll be able to get a win here. I think he's going to submit Daniel Cormier. I think that Frank Mir has submitted way high-level people than Daniel Cormier. And I shouldn't see it as a problem for Frank Mir to submit him. But I think he will submit him and get the submission win here. Saad, what are your thoughts on the fight?
I couldn't disagree more. And this is why. In order for Frank Mir to pull off a submission, he's going to have to get the fight to the ground. He's not a Uriah Faber where he's just going to climb on his back and he's going to stand there. No, he's going to have to take the fight to the ground. If that's the case, there's no man alive in the heavyweight division that has a chance of beating Cormier down. The former Olympic wrestler, who's probably the only person that could take him down, I think I'm going to correct that, is probably Cain Velasquez, but they train together, so I won't even count that.
Yep.
But there's no way Mir can be able to take him down, and Cormier has shown that he packs power in those hands of his. If there was one knock on Cormier, actually 2 knocks. One, he's kind of green in the sense that he hasn't been in the game long, but he shows so much toughness. Knocking out Bigfoot Silva and going the whole 5 rounds with Josh Barnett, a tough guy. That brings me to the second knock against him. His hand, in the sense, is sort of weak. He was showing that in his very last fight that he fought on the last Strikeforce card, that he's kind of hesitant to do it now, especially because he broke it during the Barnett fight. So I don't know if that will play into a factor here. Maybe he'll come on more tentative, but to be honest, for a reason, because he's that good. Although Mir is good, his best days are behind him. When he he didn't look great at all against Junior Dos Santos.
Yeah.
That was his same argument. He's like, I'm going to go home with his arm. I'm going to go home with his limb. Like, Mir is a good fighter. He did submit Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. But the thing is, he's not going to go willingly down on the ground with him. That's Cormier. He won't go down and try and do a grappling match. He could take him down at will if he wanted to. That's just how good Cormier's wrestling is. But he's not going to. He doesn't need to be honest. He can hit Mir. And Mir's been susceptible to the KO the last couple of years. He's been rocked so many times. And after a while, any person's iron chin eventually wears away. We saw that with Chuck Liddell. We've seen that with Juan Silva. So if you've been in the game that long, you've taken that many punishment, you're going to be susceptible to KO. And I think that Cormier's going to knock him out first or second round.
All right, good prediction there. So we got a little mixed match with the predictions there. But we're headed to the main event now. Ben Henderson and Gilbert Melendez in the long-awaited UFC debut of Gilbert Melendez. Now, this can be a 5-round title fight for the UFC lightweight championship of the world. And I see Ben Henderson winning this fight. I see that Ben Henderson has had more experience not more experience, but with better quality opponents like Anthony Pettis, Frankie Edgar, Nate Diaz, Clay Guida, and Jim Miller. But I see Ben Henderson winning this fight wherever he wants, really. I see that he'll be able to take him down, and if he wants to stand up with him, I think he'll be able to get the better of him as well. So, Saad, how do you see this main event going down?
Well, I see it kind of as the way you saw it, well, the same way that you see it as well. I think Ben Henderson's going to take a 5-round decision. And the reason why is that he's faced such great opposition over the last couple of years, facing Nate Diaz, Frankie Edgar, Clay Guida, Jim Miller, Mark Bocek. That's just a murderer's row at the lightweight division. Those guys have been in the top 10 for the last couple of years in the lightweight division. So that'll tell you how he faced. The only guy he lost to for pretty much his whole career has been Anthony Pettis. He had one of those losses that was earlier on. But Anthony Pettis is the only one that got the best of him, and that was in a 5-round war where that Showtime kick pretty much sealed the victory for Anthony Pettis. But in this case, I don't see Gilbert Melendez doing this. And although I think that Melendez is a tough, strong, and great fighter, I think that time and strikes were just wasting away. It's taken its toll on him. His last fight, I guess, was against Josh Thompson, and before that, Jorge Masvidal. Before that, Kabuchiri. Okay, compare just the list of the fighters, and you can see who is arguably the better fighter in the sense of the opposition that they faced. But don't count out Melendez. There was recently a picture posted on Twitter. Melendez looks in amazing shape, and I guess it wouldn't be too wrong to say that he also wants to make up for how Nate Diaz looked against Ben Henderson. They are training partners down at Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu with Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz. So same camp. And the thing is, he's, I guess, the last hope of that stuff in 209 camp to have a crack at the title. Nate Diaz lost, Nick Diaz lost, and Jake Shields lost. So he's really the only one holding the flame, and I think that will play into his motivation. He's going to work really, really hard for this fight, but they're both very well-rounded fighters, but if I had to give an edge in striking, it would probably go to Melendez. But at the same time, Ben Henderson, I think, is a more well-rounded fighter with his takedowns, ground and pound. That's pretty much what he's been known for, as well as some submissions in there as well. But in that case, it's a tough fight to call, but I think Ben Henderson is the champ, and he's going to be the champ for a while. And hopefully we can see the Anthony Pettis rematch. Because a lot of people are actually not too excited about this fight, which I don't understand. Mainly people say that Melendez doesn't deserve it because he's been sitting in strike for so long, and that Pettis should be the rightful #1 contender. I can't disagree. I don't agree with that at all, because Melendez is a tough fighter. He's been in the game for so long, and he deserves it for sitting in strike force and waiting around for so long. And Anthony Pettis, obviously, when he does come back, that's going to be a huge rematch fight. It's like a lot of money, but we can see that fight later after Ben Henderson wins this fight against Melendez.
Yeah, I see this fight actually going down the exact same way as the Nate Diaz fight went with Ben Henderson. I see Ben Henderson striking, takedown. Like you said, how you think Gilbert Melendez has better striking. I actually don't think he has better striking. I think that Ben Henderson has the more well-rounded stand-up. I think Gilbert Melendez could maybe have better boxing. But overall, I think Ben Henderson gets him better with the kicks at the knees. And I think overall his stand-up's a lot better than Gilbert Melendez. So like I said, I see this fight going very similar to the Nate Diaz fight. And I see him getting another decision win. It'd be nice to see Ben Henderson get a finish, I'm not going to lie. We haven't seen him get a finish in the UFC yet. And I hope we do see the first finish of Ben Henderson's UFC career. So there we have it, guys. We have Ben Henderson winning by decision win. Anything you want to say, Saad, about the card? Finish it off?
Yeah, just really looking forward to Saturday. So far, April has been shown that the fights every week have been amazing. Sweden card, up until just last week with the Misha Tate-Katsugana fight, that was so epic. And I hope that this continues the trend to great fights. And based on the quality of fighters on the card, I don't think we could be asking for anything less. They're going to deliver, and it's going to be an amazing night.
Exactly. Then we got the John Jones and Chael Sonnen fight the next week after this one. And then we got also Michael Bisping. And who's Michael Bisping fighting there on that card?
Michael Bisping is fighting Alan Belcher.
Alan Belcher. And then we got Phil Davis and Vinny Magalhaes, Pat Healy and Jim Miller, and Czech Congo and Roy Nelson. Stacked main card for UFC 159. And there we have it, folks. That'll conclude this podcast. When you're looking for in-depth UFC predictions, come no further than MMA Talk Canada. See you later, guys.